I'm Jim Collison and live from the Gallup studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, Season 5, recorded on July 18th, 2019. Theme Thursday is a webcast series that dives deep into the CliftonStrengths themes, one theme at a time, and today's theme is Arranger. If you're listening live, we'd love to have you join us in the chat room, or you can send us an email with your questions if you're listening to the recorded version, coaching@gallup.com. Maika Leibbrandt is our host today. She's a workplace consultant here at Gallup. Maika, always great to see you, and welcome back to another Theme Thursday.
Thanks, Jim. I'm so excited to get to talk about your number one theme today.
It's going to be pretty great. And let me just say this, it's in full force at the moment, what we're doing in the community around strengths. And we've just added transcripts to these themes. So if you go over to the recorded versions of them, the edited, we now have full transcripts. That only happens because I'm always thinking about the different things to do. And I just realized speaking of that, I left Ralph's message on there the whole time. Ralph, thanks for checking in. But it is in full force. Let's talk a little bit about it, Mike.
Sure. So if you possess a lot of arranger talent, hopefully today's podcast will speak to you. Really, our podcast is an exploration of all 34 themes, really helping you understand specifically the themes at the top of your profile. That's where you're going to find the most power. It's where you're going to find the greatest description of your type of potential. And so I encourage you to listen to this. If you're an arranger like Jim, you'll get to hear quite a bit of great insight around how you can practice that, how you can lean a little bit into it more purposefully. If you care about somebody who's an arranger, this podcast is also for you.
And so what does it mean to have arranger as my top talent?
Well, I might have to play this gently because you actually have it, but from a scientific standpoint, Jim, having arranger, it describes people with a natural talent for sorting toward order, organizing with flexibility. Typically, arrangers are excited about moving forward in the most efficient way and are able to juggle or make necessary adjustments in order to get there.
And how might people with this dominant theme notice this talent in their life?
You might need to inform me here, but I'll go first and then I'll throw it back to you. If you've got arranger, you might see early, often, and very clearly which pieces of the puzzle could move in order to make the whole picture work a little bit better. Maybe it shows up for you as an understanding of the problems through the tasks that need to be completed in order to get there. Almost similar to previously we've talked about analytical, that idea of being able to burn something down to the simplest piece. Arranger can see what's the task that needs to be completed and how does that fit, almost like gears together to help us move a little bit more efficiently into the future. You also might notice arranger talent as courage to make change when other people already assume that change cannot happen or that decisions have been locked in. Arranger's the ability to juggle a lot of ideas or a lot of moving pieces. And if you have dominant arranger, you might also notice that you perform a little bit better when themes are humming, things are circling, things are a little chaotic. The more inputs there are, the more opportunities you have to interact with those inputs, whether they're ideas or tasks or people. And that just creates a more intricate puzzle, more opportunities really to shine.
Yeah, I do think it's one of those where more is better for arrangers. Now, the other themes kick in. I have to be careful, Maika, on this, and I want others to be careful as well. When we're talking about a single theme at a time, it'd be really easy for me to talk about my own version of it because it has woo and maximizer and communication and activator with it. And so that makes me very unique in that. And so my arranger is influenced by all of those. So I want to be careful during this webcast. And I think we should be careful in our coaching that we don't kind of superimpose our own versions of them. We have to be careful kind of asking that question in that it does come with some blind spots. I think you actually described me very accurately in what you were just saying, but it does come with some blind spots. So can we talk a little bit about those?
Sure. The blind spots, when we released our most recent CliftonStrengths 34 report, we tested it several times looking for what do people really need from a report that describes their greatest talents? What are people consuming? What's really helpful in helping them perform a little bit better? And one of the areas that you'll find on this report is a nod to potential blind spots. Potential is an important word there. There's no guarantee that you're going to experience the blind spots within all of these themes. But it is, I think, our responsibility as talented individuals to acknowledge acknowledge how we could hold ourselves back. So this is not a diagnosis, but something we need to be aware of. With Higher Ranger, one of the blind spots might be within your ease of juggling a lot of moving pieces, it could be difficult to drop some of those pieces, right? It could feel like, I have this whole puzzle. If you take a piece, it's no longer whole. That can make delegating really difficult. So when you're thinking of a big task, level up by identifying the pieces of that task that only you can do versus the ones that others might benefit from helping you with. Jim, does that resonate with you at all?
Maika, we were just talking about that, ironically, in the pre-show. Actually, talking about it without me reading your notes. I hadn't read these yet, and I might have.
Do you know what's funny is as we were talking about it, I wasn't thinking about these notes. I'm reading this. I'm like, whoa, this.
It was right on.
Zooms us back to 10 minutes ago, what we were talking about.
Yeah, I have some things that I've done in the past that I'm now having to delegate out into others, and in the past that was difficult. I told you a year ago. Yeah. I don't know if I could have done this in through growth and maturity and working on this piece. Today, I have a lot more comfort in realizing it's actually going to make the team better if I do. And so there's some calmness in that for me. It's kind of actually how I know it's maybe the right decision is because it's calming for me. I am resting in it. I'm like, oh, this is a good decision to do. So you nailed me right on there. So yeah, nice job.
That's funny. I kind of didn't mean to.
But you did.
Because we're in this moment, Jim, if you don't mind sharing, what allowed you to delegate some of those things?
Yeah. So for me, seeing the benefit of doing that and how those people have, like, looking at the individual themes, talents, success those people have had in the past and giving that to them, knowing they could take that to an even more arranged level, right? They could make it better, place to my maximizer, make it more place to my maximizer, right? In that we could continue to have greater influence, and giving it to them will actually come back to me and allowing me to do what I do better, more of what I do better. Man, that was an easy decision. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I get to do more of what I do better. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty easy to do. But yes, arrangers, I think, sometimes have difficulty giving it away.
Well, that's interesting because the second blind spot that I wrote here in my notes is that if you've got Higher Ranger, you might love the components of a task so much that you fail to describe the big picture. And sometimes in order to win people over to help you out with things or to think about winning over stakeholders or even customers, you need them to see the big picture. And that can be confusing to people who, let's just say they don't need to know the ingredients. They just want to eat the cake. So I think it's important to create stopping points where you assess people's level of interest in the detail that you can provide. Now, a ranger's different from other themes that deal with detail. What a ranger deals with is sort of the actionable moving pieces or the performers in the circus. But think about if you've got Higher Ranger and you need to describe something to other people, think about having. I grew up in Western Nebraska, and all over there are these historical landmarkers. Other parts of the country or other countries in the world, I've noticed them called scenic overlooks or points of interest, where you'll see a note along the side of a road or a walking trail that says, hey, here's something interesting that happened here. Or it might also just be, here's a great view. And you can either keep driving by, or you can stop and you can go a little bit deeper into what's being presented. So if you're an arranger needing to communicate big ideas to other people, think about those scenic overlooks or those points of interest where you stop and you assess the interest the other person has. You might say something like, hey, do you want to know more about how this works? And then again, we've been talking about asking permission a lot. Maybe it has my coaching training coming to the forefront here, but that opportunity to let the person that you're communicating with guide you through just how much detail they need to know.
It's important in my case too. I'm working on this with a team. So what role does a ranger play on teams?
So a ranger is an executing theme. If you flip to page 21 in your CliftonStrengths 34 report, you'll see a beautiful map of your top 10 themes illuminated against the 4 domains of leadership. And a ranger is going to fall into that executing territory, which means it's really about getting stuff done. A ranger wants to get stuff done efficiently. And a ranger does best when they have access to all the moving or maybe all the codependent pieces within a task. To control that, to contrast or compare that with other executing themes, I think about a ranger doing really well when it has a certain degree of autonomy or control, or maybe even permission. But that looks very different from some other executing themes. I want to take a look at a ranger and responsibility. A ranger sees the full picture and needs permission to adjust the pieces in order to honor the big picture. Responsibility sees the outstanding promises that have been made and might need permission to fulfill expectations before taking on more. So you can see that both of them do really well when they've got some autonomy around what's being done, but they're looking for different things. And if you think about that idea of what do I need permission to go run full force at, they're going to be running full force in different ways. To compare a ranger and restorative, a ranger says, I can tap the edges and make the engine run more smoothly. Restorative says, I can take an engine that doesn't work and bring it back to working order. If you think about the role a ranger plays within a partnership, which could also extrapolate to the role that a ranger plays within a team, what a ranger can do is help navigate the logistics of a problem by considering the ideal configurations. A ranger can handle a lot of information coming at them at once. Think about it as juggling spinning plates. I like that image there. At its very best, I think a ranger, maybe also with help, can sort to the most important priorities in order to accomplish a goal. So maybe the extension or that opportunity to really get great with a ranger is to think about that idea of juggling, even juggling plates, understanding which of those plates are made from like crystal china that cannot be dropped, and which of those plates are really like plastic frisbees. So that idea of being able to sort to priorities within the moving pieces that you're looking to move forward.
Mike, I've always said about me is that I'm a better firefighter than I am a farmer. So I like to move lots of action, moving kind of in the moment. You said plate spinning. I like that. I like that kind of idea as well. But this also working on teams, you also did a metaphor of tapping. And I associate it with somebody being on a set of rails. And as it begins to tip, you just kind of tap it back in and tap it back in, kind of help keep the project, the person, the thing on the rails, right? But not big movements and not a lot of details, but just a lot of tapping. Just kind of tap that on, tap, tap, tap. More projects you have, of course, the more tapping you do. And I think that's one of those kinds of things. So we think about communicating with the Rangers. How can we communicate with them to make that the most effective?
Well, I think to follow the rails that you've set here, don't leave the rails out, right? Don't leave out details for fear that you might overwhelm an arranger. Let them navigate the complicated scenarios with you. Maybe ask that arranger, hey, do you want to know more? Or what part of this do we want to explore first? Also, talk about the ultimate goal or the priority. Maybe even discuss the why or the reason behind a situation. It's going to help that arranger sort through what it is that they're juggling. Be upfront about your deadlines. Be upfront about your expectations. Is it okay to keep readjusting and tapping on the rails, or do we need to lock something in? And if we need to lock something in, why? Who's counting on it? How does it affect the cascade effect of other pieces that are also moving? Jim, what else would you add as somebody with higher ranger? Great ways to communicate with an arranger?
I think it depends, but keep communicating with them. Lots of communication. I have communication, so that fits in nicely with it. But I think that often early, consistent, I think arrangers, they need that information to make those adjustments. They would rather make the adjustments sooner rather than later, in not massive adjustments. Let's just do these in little tiny increments as we kind of go forward. But sometimes that requires motivation. So how do we motivate and inspire? What are some things we can do to kind of keep that rolling?
Yeah. So I think things that might inspire an arranger are the authority to make necessary changes without having to ask for permission. Access to all the moving parts. That might mean if you're somebody like Jim and you've got a ranger in communication, that access might mean constant check-ins or lots of words, right? Let's say if an arranger is teaching a class, give them access to the supply cupboard. If they're hosting a radio show, let them sit at the board instead of saying, okay, you sit over there with the microphone, we'll take care of the rest of the details. Give them access to everything that they might need. Also, challenge them by asking for their insight on how a process might work a little bit more efficiently. Be clear on what they have to whether they have to own that project or whether they're just acting as a consultant who can give their opinion and then fly back out.
In the early days of Call to Coach and Theme Thursday, not all the technology always worked. And there's a lot of technology that we have here that makes these things work. But I remember people, and the windows weren't side by side. Remember, we were at big picture, and then we were down below. And people would comment in the chat room as I would be trying to literally juggle all the pieces, getting them kind of working. And that really charged me up. Like that really, I enjoyed that kind of a piece. So what else can arrangers do to practice this? That was a great practice for me, by the way. What else can arrangers do to practice this talent?
Well, I think you're describing multitasking. Now, it's channeled multitasking. It's all a bunch of different tasks that lead up to one common theme or like one great goal. In that case, it was helping host a podcast. But I would say look for opportunities to multitask. Maybe there are work streams that work really well when they're all lining up at the same time like that. Go there. Be the air traffic controller. Don't just organize for the sake of organizing. There might be, even into your childhood, times when you remember being able to sort through your brain or your ideas of what are you going to wear the next day, or sort through, my daughter really likes organizing our entire family's shoe bin. That was a thing I didn't even know existed until she came across the idea that, hey, everybody's shoes could go in the same place. So I think look for chances to bring that into your professional life or into more of a purpose or a goal that you have. Can you organize teams? Can you organize people? Could you organize goals? Your excellence in creating order from chaos might be the best way that you lead or contribute to a team. So align your arranger to your job more on purpose.
I love that line, order from chaos. That, I just think that speaks so well to arrangers, giving them those opportunities. We've been practicing a little talent mindfulness this season. And so, Maika, walk us through this exercise.
Sure. So we're about to go into a great exercise. It'll take 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll bring it to us to the end of our podcast around arranger. This is not meant to be prescriptive to the arranger theme. It is meant to become a practice that all of us practice, something that we can grow a little bit more closer to the talents that we have. So regardless of where arranger falls in your profile, this really is something that you can participate in. Now, you might hear whispers of arranger, but the investment in being more aware of your own talents is really important, regardless of what your dominant themes are. So let's do it. Let's take a really deep breath in and an audible exhale. Really let it go. Let's be right here. So some of the magic of arranger is the ability to dance in the moment, to know how much time to spend on one thing before moving to the next, to really understand the rhythm, maybe the syncopation to your day. Today is about acknowledging that we all have rhythm to our day. And this exercise is going to help you look forward more purposefully to the next half of your day. We're going to explore what you have coming up and how you might move through it with slightly more gracefulness and agility. We're going to use a mantra that mirrors some of the magic of arranger, but again, can be applied to your themes. I see, I sort, I choose, I act. Your natural talents act as filters to what you notice, what you prioritize, and what you do. Take another really deep breath in right now. And then press that breath all the way out, really emptying your lungs. You can resume your normal breathing as you continue to listen and I guide you through this. I want you to think about what you'll face in the next hour of today. Imagine if that entire hour showed up in your lap right now. You see it, you sort it, you choose what to do, you act. Now, what if the next 2 hours of your day showed up all in your lap, all at once? Everything you need to do, know, feel, or see, it's all there. It's starting to get heavier, and still you have the talent to handle it. I see, I sort, I choose, I act. Whatever you have coming over the next half of your day, let's say the next 4 to 5 hours, there's a lot filling that time. Right now, I want you to imagine one big, messy pile. It all shows up right here in your lap and it spills off of your lap onto the floor, maybe even is splashing onto anybody within arm's reach. You can still get through it, but not without being thoughtful. See it, take it in, acknowledge all that you have in front of you. You sort. Pay attention to what your talents are sorting toward. What makes something feel worthy of your energy? You choose. Say yes to those parts that resonate with your goals, that make the most of the talent that you have to give. You act. Suddenly, this pile doesn't matter anymore. You've said yes to the most important priorities, and you've left the rest to sort of dissipate into the atmosphere. There's no longer a pile on your lap. You're left with only those most important priorities. Lean into those moments of flow, of greatness, when how to act just makes sense to you. That is moving forward from a place of talent, acknowledging that you know best how to proceed throughout your day. Let's take one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, know that whatever the rest of your day has to bring to you, no matter how structured it is or how full or relaxing it is, as you go throughout your day, notice your filter is working for you. I see, I sort, I choose, I act.
Mike, any final thoughts on Ranger?
Just that it's really beautiful, and all of these themes can serve in any one of those four leadership domains. I think about what does a ranger offer as a leader. It's really stepping into that ability to sort, and there's an extension of that where you can help other people do that as well. So we need the world needs a rangers, and we're thankful for you, Jim.
Oh, well, it's good to be thought and thanked for. So I appreciate that. We'll remind everyone to take full advantages of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strengths Center. Just gallupstrengthscenter.com. Send us your questions or comments. coaching@gallup.com. That's the right email address to get that done. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach or any of the courses that may lead to that, you can see a full list of all the courses we have available. We have a bunch of them available now. Head out to courses.gallup.com. If you want to keep track of all the webcasts we do, join us live, get a schedule for that. They're on our Eventbrite page. Just go to gallup.eventbrite, BRITE.com. And join us on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach. Many of you have done that. We appreciate you guys doing that. Look forward to the next one. In this case, just a few minutes from now. But with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.